And like I teased you earlier about the ranch that is being proposed by the federal government in Benue State. We have two guests, Zariyi Yusuf in the studio, former coordinator, Middle Belt Patriots, and Jonathan Asake, former member, House of Reps, immediate past president, Southern Kaduna People's Union. Let me start with Zariyi Yusuf in the studio. You know, this issue, it looks like it wouldn't really go away because every single government that have coming since 1999 have had something to do with ranching. And it's clearly because of these farmers' header slashes that we've, continuously seen. If you look at the middle belt, as it were, for you as someone who has followed this story, do you think that introducing ranching would in some way stop, or better still, maybe reduce these incidences of farmers' header clashes?
No, it won't. I think, let me try to build your question in a different way. Is there a chance that, for instance, somebody who is either Nupe or Ethic running a poultry farm, we suddenly decide that that particular ethnic group, that private business, we pick it up, we make it a liability on the commonwealth of other people? What is the relevance of doing that to the matters of security? And that basically is the problem we have. It's not whether or not ranching would stop insecurity. It's why is it the business of the government? It's somebody's private business. So there is an unfortunate culture where people, it's not different from the Almajiri system. I mean, we just learned when they went to look for 8 billion for some road construction that there was the existence of some Almajiri commission. Why? It's a family issue. You can't afford to raise certain kids, then don't give birth to them. But why do you push them to the streets and expect the government to take all the people's resources to raise them? So it's a similar issue with the cattle ranching. That's from that perspective. The choice of those particular locations in the Middle Belt that they want to use as pilot, areas for the implementation of this raises more questions than answers. In these areas are people who, some for over 10, 12 years, have not gone back to their homes because an Islamist group that is primarily composed of Fulani people who have always claimed to be innocent herders have sacked those communities. In each of these areas, we have hundreds of communities that are still uninhabited. Okay, so you may find 2, 3 people running their cattle around. What should be the priority of the government? Do you resettle the people first? And do you teach these ones who grow and believe that their business is just to rear cattle at the expense of other people's resources, other people's commonwealth? You educate them to let them know you want to rear cattle. It's a private business. Okay? So when I settle in a location, I want to raise birds. I meet the locals, I meet the people, and I say to them, this is the business I hope to do. And they say, oh, actually, you can't do it here, but you could go over there, you could buy land, or we could lease. That's fine. But what happens when it has to do with raping women, sacking communities, killing people, and then somebody tells you that the only way to solve that is by taking land from the same victims and giving it to the people perpetrating those criminalities? So what is basically happening, or the implementation, if the government goes ahead to implement that, which I hope it doesn't even attempt to do so, it will be complementary to basically whatever it is these people, these killers have been pursuing from a long time ago, right, which is basically expansionist and nothing else.
Jonathan, I don't know if you can hear me, but I mean, government has all the paraphernalia of information. I mean, it must have done its research to be able to gather that ranching is the way forward. Do you share that sentiment?
Honestly, I don't share that sentiment. And this is not the first time I'm making my observations public on this issue. It appears governments, successive governments, right from the time of Buhari until now, are bent on taking land from native owners and allocating same to Fulanis. You see, there was this thing that they call national grazing reserves. And one grazing reserve, as an example, was cited in Kaduna State, in fact, specifically in the southern part of Kaduna, in Kachia and Zangon Kataf. They call it Kachia Grazing Reserve. And that grazing reserve was supposed to be exclusively for rearing of cattle, not a settlement for any people. And the rearing of cattle was supposed to be for anybody who is into that business, not only Fulanis. But as I'm talking today, that grazing reserve has metamorphosed into a big settlement exclusively for Fulanis.
Okay, we would reconnect with Jonathan when we have his network cleared. But Yusuf, you've mentioned some points stating that, well, maybe the government should not be involved in this. What difference would it make, for instance, if individuals or group decide that they just want to acquire land to do ranching? Would it make any difference?
Yeah. So in that regard, basically the dealing will be respectful, because it's a private business, so nobody would have a problem with anybody running his private business. An example is you've got industries or factories run even by foreigners in different parts of the country. Nobody has ever had issues with
the federal government actually opening the ranches and handing over to people. Is that what the issue is?
Specifically to Fulani.
I mean, you can't really say specifically to Fulani because
it is.
How do you know that?
It has strictly been the pursuit of the Fulani power players in the government. An example is during Buhari's regime, he kept switching the names of that from Ruga to water resources bills to whatsoever. The whole and the question is, in I think 2017 autumn, when open grazing was banned in Benue, Ganduje offered I think over 20,000 square kilometers of land. I think 20. So and he called them, come, I will put schools, I will put amenities, you would live comfortably, you would rear your cattle. They rejected it. Okay? They rejected it. They said they don't want it. And the reason they don't want it is because there are Tiv people in Kano, there are Yoruba people in Benue, there are everybody could live anywhere, but they don't want it. Now the question is, why do they want the same thing in the regions where security, a genocide has been on, and the people believe there is something expansionist, which is basically what has been happening on the plateau, in Benue, in southern Kaduna, all of these regions, they said. Why do you need the middle belt for that?
I'm kind of curious, though, because again, if you look at the government in the past and the government now,
yes,
you think that maybe one of them would think that ranching might not be the best. But they are going the same direction, and they are in government. They have research. They have researchers.
The truth is, from the report, I think the minister of livestock ministry or whatsoever presented that as a proposal to the president. That's a Fulani man. So by default, their ethnic and religious inclination to their pursuit of their expansionist agenda is basically what he hopes to use state powers to basically do, because you don't come to a place where the people have not gone back to their homes yet, because the people you want to give the land to have been killing them. Of course, it's not every Fulani man who kills, but we know who does the killing. It hasn't stopped. It's increasing. Communities are sacked. The people whose land you want to take are in IDP camps, and you want to start implementing that on the plateau and all of that. So it's, like I said, while we may not actually come out and say, it is this ministry or this particular individual that sponsored this, but we could say that the action is complementary to the pursuit of this Islamist who want to sack those communities and occupy them.
Zariyi, Yusuf, many thanks. We truly appreciate it. This is an ongoing conversation. I'm sure that we would unravel more of this as we go on.
Yeah.
And we also appreciate Jonathan Asake, is a former member, House of Reps, immediate past president, Southern Kaduna People's Union, even though his connection was, pretty poor. But many thanks. I truly appreciate you both for the insight.